Hello everyone, I am Dr. Shruti Mathur from Sri Venkateswara College, University of Delhi. Welcome to this session on blended learning structures in education. We are going to go through a couple of slides today through which we are going to understand the concept of blended learning structures. So let us start with our presentation. In today's session, we will understand the concepts of blended learning structures. We are going to discuss some popular blended learning models, and we will also understand their suitability, merits, and limitations. So let us start with the concept of blended learning structures. What do we mean by blended learning structures? Structures refer to the models of blended learning. We all know that blended learning means online plus the offline component. So the structure basically refers to the mix of these components. That is, how much and what components should be delivered online and what should be delivered offline. At one end of the spectrum, we may have a model which is predominantly offline. That means predominantly classroom based. Here, most of the interactions between the students and teachers, as well as most of the content delivery, is going to be done in the classroom. This will be supplemented with some activities which are online or some online resources. On the other side of the spectrum, we may have a structure which focuses on online delivery of content. So there you will have more of the online content along with some face-to-face offline content to supplement the online content. Now, in between these two extremes, of course, there can be n number of combinations. As a teacher, when we design a model or when we select a structure, there are many factors which we need to keep in mind. For example, some subjects, by nature, they may be easily handled online. But there may be other subjects which require hands-on experience or equipments and infrastructure that is only available in a college campus. So for such papers, such subjects, you should have a model which has more offline component in the blend. Similarly, the model which is adopted also depends on the learning requirements and the life situations of the students. Sometimes, majority of the students may require flexible learning schedules because they may find it difficult to attend the classes in the physical setting. Maybe they are working on a part-time job or doing some internships, or they are involved in some extracurricular or co-curricular or sports activities, because of which they are not able to attend the classes regularly. So in such cases, we may have a structure which has more online component because it suits them more. Similarly, the age and the comfort with the use of technology, these will also affect the choice of the model adopted by the teachers. So if the students are comfortable, working online, if they usually the younger crowd, the younger people are more comfortable. So in that case, we may adopt a model or a blend which has more online component. Of course, ideally speaking, Personalized blends are best suited for the learning needs of students. Such blends are called as a la carte models. But this kind of personalization is not always feasible because we may not be able to completely customize the model for each and every student. So the most important thing while choosing a structure is ensuring that your students are able to function well within whatever structure you choose and they are able to achieve their learning goals. Now, there are many models of blended learning. Like I told you, structures means models. So there are many models of blended learning. In our module, however, we are going to focus on 6 popularly used structures. These are blended face-to-face class, blended online class, the flipped classroom, the rotation model, the self-blend model, and the blended MOOCs. So let us start with the first model, the blended face-to-face class. This model is also called as face-to-face driver model. Of all the blended learning models, this one is the closest to a traditional offline classroom structure. Now, this model is suitable particularly where the students do not have any other major commitments apart from their higher education and they are able to attend the offline classes regularly. Now, as the name suggests, face-to-face class, this is the scenario where there is more offline component in the blend and this majority of the offline component is supplemented by the online activities. The online activities may be in the form of say some videos or readings or online quizzes or some assignments or some assessments which are done online. But predominantly, you have the offline component more. The main benefit of adopting this model is that students are able to use the class time for higher order learning activities. Why? Because some part of the activities are being done online. So compared to a traditional classroom where everything is done in the class, some activities are being done online, which frees up time. And since the time is freed up, therefore, you can focus more on the higher order learning activities such as discussions or group projects. So, this model is actually quite suitable for a diverse classroom where the students have differently paced learning ability. So here, the quick learners may proceed at a faster pace because they have the supplemental online learning material with them. Whereas those students who need more support, they can be helped with the remedial content which will accelerate their learning. The second model which we talk about is the blended online class. This is also called as online driver model and it's the complete opposite, the reverse of the previous model. So in the previous model, we said that the offline component is much more than the online component. In the online driver model, of course, the thing is reversed. So here, our online component is more, offline component is comparatively less. The class is mostly conducted online, but there may be some required in-person activities also which require coming to the campus. For example, there may be some lectures which the students must attend, or there may be some lab classes, which the students have to attend. So students, they are able to study the course at their own pace. So there is a lot of flexibility here. You can study the course at your own pace, mainly through the online platform. So So long as you have access to the internet enabled devices, you can study anywhere, anytime at your own speed. At the same time, you can also get in touch with the teachers. In case you have any doubts or queries, you can also come to the class, or you can also have interaction with the teachers. This model, it works particularly well for the students who wish to work alongside the course. Those who are doing some internships or jobs, for them this is a good model. Similarly, those people who are living very far away from the institution and they find it difficult to commute on a daily basis, for them also this model provides flexibility. Similarly, those who are involved in, say, sports trainings or cultural programs and competitions, and they have to practice constantly for it or go for competitions, for them also this is a more suitable model. Similarly, any students who have, say, some chronic illness or handicaps and who will find it difficult to attend the classes physically, for them this model works. And it is also suitable for those students who are motivated, who are driven, and who want to multitask. Now, we come to the third model. And friends, this model has become very popular. It's called a flipped classroom. Now, what is a flipped classroom? A flipped or an inverted classroom model is a comparatively new pedagogical approach. And this model was developed in 2007 by two high school chemistry teachers, Jonathan Bergman and Aaron Sams. They developed the flipped classroom to help some student athletes who would usually miss their classes because they were doing practices and they were going for competition. So just like in our class also, we normally find that there are sports students or ECS students who frequently miss our classes. So these teachers also, they were facing the similar problem with some athlete students, and they implemented this model and they found that it helps the athletes in reaching their learning goals. And they also observed that after they flipped the classroom, not only these students, but other students also who were earlier not interacting that much, they started coming forward and interacting in the class. Of course, the students who were already doing well, they continued to progress in the course. So it helped everybody, and they came up with this model in 2007. Now let us understand how this model works. So as the name suggests, the work done by the learner in a traditional classroom setting is reversed in a flipped classroom. What happens in a traditional classroom setting? In the traditional classroom, the content is delivered in the class, then the students go home and they do homework. But in the flipped classroom, the students first study at home. They are given some material to prepare beforehand. So they use this material, they prepare this material, go through these videos or material, and then come to the class. In the classroom, instead of focusing on the concept, they try to apply the concepts. And that is what leads to better understanding and learning of the concepts. Now, let me show you how this model works with the help of a small picture or a diagram, I would say. So let's have a look at this diagram. What do we see? There are three scenarios which are present for the flipped classroom. First is before the classroom, what is done? Before coming to the class, what is the student supposed to do? What does he do during the class, and what does he do after the class? So I'll take an example to explain this to you. For example, say I teach management paper. So I'm doing the paper of management, and I'm taking up a topic on leadership. Now, before I start this topic, if I have a flipped classroom, I will share some videos, not very long videos, but short videos, some short videos or some other online content with the students in advance. And that will familiarize the students with the underlying concept. So the students will go through this content at home and then come for the class. Now during the class, what will I do? I will take up some case study. And with this case study, I will discuss it with the students. They will identify, maybe, because I'm doing leadership, so maybe they will identify what is the style of leadership which that particular case study showcases. And then they could discuss some different aspects of leadership, their analysis of it, and there would be peer learning as well as teacher guided learning as well. But the focus will be on problem solving and discussion rather than simple concept. So finally, after the class, they will go home and maybe I will give them some project to work on, which will consolidate their understanding. So that is how a flipped classroom works. Before the class, you study beforehand, all the material is given to you. Then you come prepared for the class. And during the class, what do? During the class, you apply your learning of concepts and clarify your doubts. And finally, you consolidate your learning through some more projects at home. Now, let us just quickly compare our flipped classroom with a traditional face-to-face classroom model. So, of course, in case of a flipped classroom, this is an example of blended learning, whereas in a traditional classroom, you only have face-to-face teaching. That is the first major difference. In a flipped classroom, the learning is controlled by the learner. He will work at his own pace, at his own convenience. In the traditional model, teacher is the one who controls. They will give instruction, they will give material. Then one very important distinction, preparation and learning material. So in a flipped classroom, the student needs to prepare in advance, and for that the teacher needs to provide him with some learning material in advance, because he will have to go through that at home. In a traditional scenario, in a traditional classroom, what happens is, when the student comes to the class, then the teacher will deliver the lecture and the student will take the notes, or the teacher will share, whatever are the readings and notes will be normally shared during the class or after the class. In a flipped classroom, doesn't work that way. So during the class, what is the focus? In a flipped classroom, focus is on application and practice of concepts. In a traditional classroom, you are trying to understand the concepts only. And finally, the role of the teacher and the role of the learner is also changed. So for the teacher, in a flipped classroom, they are facilitators and they try to mentor the students, counsel the students, guide the students. In a traditional scenario, in a classroom, it's the lecture that we deliver, the teaching that we do. The student in a traditional classroom has a passive role. So he doesn't do anything, he just comes, sits in the class, may pay attention in the class, but there may or may not be active participation. In a flipped classroom, the activities are designed in such a way that there has to be some active participation by the learners. So this is, these are some of the ways in which a flipped classroom and traditional classroom differ from each other. Next, let us look at the advantages and disadvantages of a flipped classroom. So let's start with the advantages. Now, in a flipped classroom, students have more control because they can learn at their own pace. This learning, like I said, it is student-centered and there is collaboration also. The students not only learn from the teacher, they also learn from each other. When they work on group projects, when there are discussions, then you discuss with your peers, you discuss with your teacher, and the learning is both collaborative learning as well as student-centered learning. And this participation, this coming forward, it builds the confidence of the student also. Then the lesson and contents in case of learning flipped classrooms, what we do is we deliver the material in advance, and this material is usually online content. So it stays with the student so that even at any point of time after the class, 2 months, 3 months, 1 year, they can still go back and catch up the concept. And if they've missed out on any work during the session, then they can again go back and check what work they've missed and they can catch up on that work. Flipped learning is also more time efficient because the class time is again focused on deeper understanding and application rather than simple, sharing of the concepts. However, there are some problems or some limitations of flipped classroom. Number one, like all blended learning models, this one also relies on technology. And not all students may have access to internet-enabled devices or smartphones or computers. So this may create a digital divide. Secondly, the flipped classroom, it presumes active participation by the students. It presumes that the student will prepare for the class in advance and then come to the class. But as teachers, we know that there are many students who are reluctant to participate. No matter how many times you try to ask them, they will be shy, they will not participate that much. So if the students do not cooperate, if they do not prepare in advance, if they do not participate, then flipped classroom will not work. Thirdly, some people feel that there is a lot of work involved on part of the teachers. It increases their work. It does initially increase their work because number one, you have to share the material with the students in advance, which means you have to first prepare that material, find it, share it. It requires digital skills, it requires times. All of us are nowadays, because of the pandemic, we're taking the online classes. So we know how much effort goes into making PPTs and, building that kind of learning material. So, but the thing is that once initially you have put in that effort, it pays. And the teacher, they need to introduce activities in the classroom also. So these activities also need to be designed in such a manner that they motivate the students to participate. They clarify, they dwell on the application of the subject matter. So that of course requires a lot of planning, a lot of understanding, a lot of effort on part of the teacher. But the results are, usually they pay off all the hard work. And the last issue sometimes that we see is that with so much online content, the screen time increases. So even now we find lots of students, lot of teachers, they complain that they are facing health issues because of the eye problems, postural problems. So these of course are another limitation which sometimes people attribute to flipped classroom also. However, if I have to conclude, then I would say that the merits of flipped classroom far outweigh the limitations. So flipped classrooms are seen to be an important model of blended learning. Now coming to the next model that we have to discuss, this is the rotation model. This model involves dividing a large class of learners into smaller groups. Each group will perform different types of tasks at the same time. So although the learning is primarily, it may be in the college campus only, in a blended learning rotation model, at least one of the applications or modalities which the students use while rotating is online learning. This kind of model is highly suitable for a heterogeneous class, particularly where we have learners with different types of learning styles. We can group these learners and they will be able to get maximum benefit out of the program. So the rotation models further can be of, we can have three kind of sub models. The first is the station rotation model, the lab rotation model, and the individual rotation model. Let's take up these models one by one. So we start with the station rotation model. In this model, the students rotate between stations in the classroom at the instructor's discretion or at fixed schedule. So please note that there are two important things which are there in this statement. Number one, all the rotations are taking place within the confines of the classroom. So whether it is the online learning or the offline learning or any of the activities which is taking place, everything is within the classroom only. The second thing which we must note is that the rotations occur either at the instructor's wish. That means whenever the instructor thinks that now we should rotate our tasks, they will rotate, or it may be, usually it is because they have a predetermined schedule. So every say a particular period of time, after some period of time, we have to shift the station. Now to explain this model, let me show you the picture which will help you understand. This is a typical model which is a station rotation model. Let's suppose we have a class of 60 students, 60 students. And let us say as a teacher, we have 3 stations which we create. Station 1 is the teacher-led instruction. So this is the station where the students will meet the teacher and the teacher will interact with them. They will give the instructions or information, or they will solve the problems and doubts. Station 2, maybe it can be the online self-learning station. So here the students will be involved in learning the concepts through watching some videos, or maybe they may be doing some practice work on the computer. So this is the online learning station. The third one is the group activity, where there is peer learning. So students will be working together on some project or some activity. Now, what will I do as a teacher for station rotation? We will divide our class into 3 groups because there are 3 stations. So 3 groups, 60, the class is 60 students. So 3 groups means 20 students each. The first group may go to the teacher's station first. After a period of time, they will go to the online learning. Then they may go to the group activity. At the same time, group 2 may first go for the online learning station, then for activity, then for teacher-led instruction. And group 3 may first do a group activity, then go to the teacher, and then go for online learning. So the entire class will be divided into smaller subsets, and each group will be doing something else, something different at a particular point of time. Now, how does this model help? Let's look at the advantages of this model. If you look at the advantages or benefits, the first benefit is that I have divided a class of 60 students into 3 groups of 20, which means at any point of time, I will be meeting only 20 students. Please understand that only one of the stations requires all the attention of the teachers. The other 2 are more or less stations where the teacher attention is not that required. So as a teacher, I'm meeting a smaller group. That means I can give differentiated instructions. Differentiated instructions means different instructions based on the requirements of the group. So for the quick learners, I may first send them to the online station where they will self-study, and then they can meet the teacher to solve their doubts. While if I have slow-paced learners who require my support, I will call this group first to the teacher instruction, where I will give them the instructions or tell them the concept, and then they can go for online study. So differentiated instruction may be there. Then the class remains interesting because you're learning through diverse activities. So you're doing something on computer, you're doing something in the group, you are listening to the teacher, right? So a number of activities are there which makes class more interesting. And of course, because there are group activities, it means there is an opportunity for the students to collaborate. The problems with this model are that there is comparatively lesser flexibility, particularly if the schedules are fixed. And students may not have been able to complete all their work before the rotation takes place. Secondly, again, we require e-learning infrastructure in the class. So excess of that has to be there. Thirdly, might not be applicable for all the subjects. And lastly, all the movements, like I said, they're within the classroom. So it's normally suited for the school environment rather than the college environment. So coming to the next model, sub-model under the rotation model, this is the lab rotation. Very, very similar. Basic concept is the same as the station rotation. The only difference is that this model, here all the activities are not limited to the classroom, but some things may be done outside the class also. So it's still within the campus, but activities may be scattered. So you may have a kind of an online learning lab where the students may go for rotation. In a college scenario, it leads to better utilization of the resources. So it's suitable for colleges. The third variant of rotation model is the individual rotation model. And again, the concept remains the same, that you're going from one place to the other or one learning station to the other. But here, it's not necessary that you go to all the stations, because the rotation schedule is customized for the student according to the learning needs. So the student may not be required to go to all stations. They may go to a few stations which are in line with their learning objectives. So that is how it differs from the other two rotation models. Now, after the rotation models, we talk about the self-blend model. Now, while many of the previous models, they were course level models, self-blend is a program level model. How does it work? It allows the student to take up coursework beyond what is offered by their own institution. So the student may be studying in this institution, but along with this institution's courses, they may take up some program, some course from some other institution. And this is particularly beneficial or suitable for those students who feel that they require certain skills for their career. So maybe the student he's studying a particular course in college X, but college X is not offering a particular course or a particular program. College Y is offering it, so they will avail that program from the college Y because it helps them in their career development. This model, of course, usually it applies to those students who are already driven, who are already motivated, and they are independent learners. So the driven students, the motivated students, the quick-paced learners, that's where this program is more suitable. Now coming to the last one, which is the blended MOOCs. The blended MOOC, it is a combination of flipped classroom and MOOC. Now flipped classroom, we have already discussed the concept of what is flipped classroom. Let us quickly understand what is MOOC. MOOC, you may already know, it refers to a massive online or massive open online course. Now MOOCs, they provide free access to the premier courses taught by some elite professors in an asynchronous format, which may be available anywhere on any device which is internet enabled. Just like the flipped classroom, here also we give videos to the student to study. But here the preparatory material is actually the MOOC material from some other institution or instructor. So it is combining MOOC material with the flipped classroom, because with MOOC, you usually do not have access to the face-to-face teaching. Here, you support the online teaching with the face-to-face meeting with the teachers, where the teachers will have some discussion or some in-class activities to help the students. So say college A or institution A, it may be having a MOOC course on some software application or computer language, but institution Y doesn't. So what they do is they create a blended MOOC whereby the students will be taking the MOOC class, and face-to-face time will be used for additional problem solving. Now, to conclude, what we have to remember is that blended learning models that like I said in the beginning, it's not restricted to these 6. In fact, blended learning models can be blended together. These models are not mutually exclusive, and for the teachers, they have to design the blended learning activities in such a way that it is based on this subject the curriculum requirement and the learner's needs. So sometimes the curriculum also may require the students to go for some online courses, some credits online. So depending on the requirements of the curriculum, depending on the learner's need, depending on the subject, the teachers must design their blended learning structure. So with this, we end this module. Thank you, everybody.